Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, Micrographics webinar, about the Autodesk Construction Cloud. It's going to be a live demo for some of the way at least. As you can imagine, we have 1 hour, 45 minutes really to go through a lot, but we'll try and do that by way of example, at least in the beginning. The Autodesk Construction Cloud, or AEC as it is colloquially known, is a offering from Autodesk which has invested under the Chief Executive Officer Andrew Anagnost in the construction industry, specifically on the cloud, so that we can digitize the way that buildings are designed, constructed and managed, based on the idea that we build up a digital twin. And central to that is the creation, or the beginning of the creation, of a true CDE. And that is where there is one source of truth, which everybody can refer to, metadata and other elements attached to it. So I would say that the best way to get to know the Autodesk Construction Cloud, or to understand what it is about, is to go to the website. And Autodesk has dedicated a page to the Construction Cloud. And to navigate through this, what you'll see is that we've got some general ideas and some blogs that you can hook up to. But to me, the real nitty-gritty of it is if you go to the products page and you go and have a look at all products. Now that will show you what is available within the Construction Cloud. Specifically, there's Build, which is based around the construction industry, contractors and subcontractors going into the field and creating RFIs, snag lists, issues as they are known within the cloud. Takeoff, which gives you some ability to generate some takeoff of off-model elements. The two licenses, or three licenses that are mostly used in the design phase of the project, the docs license. Now the docs license comes part and parcel of the AEC collection. For those of you that do have an AEC collection, that allows you to upload files to the cloud and to create some issues. The Collaborate license, which is a more powerful license than docs, and allows you to share packages with others in a multilateral approach, as well as to create clash detections on the cloud. So there is an alternative to Navisworks clash detection, and it is being developed further as time goes along, and that is the Collaborate license. The Collaborate Pro license also allows you to co-author models. Revit models are the most commonly used, and that, for instance, allows you to collaborate on a project that might be all the way around the world. I have been involved in such a project where the modelers were both in South Africa, in the UK, in Cyprus, and in Australia. It is a very interesting concept that you can work as a distributed team, and that is what the BIM Collaborate Pro license allows you to do. PlanGrid Build, although it is listed independently, is just the mobile app, and that hooks onto the Build license. So the only mobile app that is available in the field at the moment. Anything else must be accessed via a browser The assemble license, that's now going over and above what the usual is. And this is query and connect the BIM data to design reviews, takeoffs and estimation, change management and value engineering to reduce risk and improve efficiency. So this is even more. And what's nice about this is you can choose to learn more about this offering, in which case it will open that website for you and give you some more information about what is possible within that platform. And in addition to that, you may also choose to get a demonstration from an Autodesk representative. The same is true of the building connected license. Again, under the bid and risk management process, very much a managerial process. Right? That's closeout documentation. And then connect, which allows you to connect your BIM data to enterprise management systems. So at least with regards to assemble, building connected, pipe, and connect, I would refer you to Autodesk to either get a demonstration or to understand the package in more detail, as this is very industry specific and aimed at management of the project specifically. Difficult to manage as an individual, but critical within a team that's operating on a building or in the building industry, and these offerings are available. So going on to 5 and 60, management of cost, change orders, and so on and so forth. There is a cost module, which is not listed here, which is part and parcel of the build license. So moving on to the actual platform, have a look at what that platform looks like. We have the new platform, which is the Autodesk Construction Cloud. It's an improvement or an evolution of the BIM 360 platform. And what you will see is that it's got, in my case, most of the licenses that's available over here, the docs license, which forms the repository for files, design collaboration, which is the sharing of packages, model coordination, clash detection in essence, takeoff, hold, cost, and insight. All of these are available to me, as well as project admin, because I am the administrator on this project, and account admin. So most of this looks the same, or basically the same as within the normal platform, where you can create a project if you would like. So on the project side of things, you can create the project, and then you can enter the project name and carry on as usual, adding users, and you might, however, have to revert to the old platform if you want to add other companies. And what you'll be able to do there is then to go to the account admin and go further into the BIM 360 admin to go and add some of the companies. Some of these have not yet been migrated onto the new platform. You will be able to add the companies from the old platform, and they will reflect on the new platform. Looking at the project admin, we have got some users of our own licenses that's assigned to this project. And if you look at any one of these licenses, you will see that they can have a company attached to them. That helps with the assignation of privileges onto the folders, the role that they might assume. That can also be used. So either company, role, or individual can be used to assign folder file access. The level of control that they've got, either a project member or a project administrator, and then which licenses they have over here. Now, the new platform works a little bit different to the old platform in the sense that the license that you purchase becomes a bring your own license. So automatically your license will be consumed on a project that you are invited to. Of course, you may be invited to multiple projects. But the administrator would then be able to switch on the entitlements to which you're entitled to under your own license. Let's suppose that you've got a design collaboration and a model coordination license together with docs, but you don't have build and costs, and they would like you to have access to that, and they have bought a license, then they can just switch that on for you, and you will then have that available to you. So this is how the licenses are managed per individual user, and we can switch them on and off at will. In addition to that, looking at the settings of the project, you can also change the names and the information in here. There are some product settings if you want to have a look per product. But in the project, at least, you can see that we've got the locations. Now, locations is a physical or a text input as to locations that you might have in the project. And you can add here, or just you can use a template download to go and create those locations. And then you can see an example of what that would look like. So here's a tier 3 example where they use the building, a tower, and then which floor it is on, and then which room it is. You can get more complex than that. You can even delve down into a further tier where you might even go all the way into, say, tier 4, where you are looking at the living room or closet or bathroom or kitchen of a specific penthouse on a specific floor. So that can be an Excel input or it's a CSV input to add your locations in the project. That's, of course, it has already been designed. And then also you can choose to have notifications on this project or not. So would you like to be sent emails notifying you of either issues, RFIs, or submittals? And then do you want to allow project members to change their own notification settings? So either you force notifications on everybody or not. And then you can also have hourly, daily, or just instantly notifications to other project members. And those are the settings within the project itself. For the individual products, we can see that we've got the design collaboration settings. It opens it up in a new tab on your browser. Just wait for that to display quickly. And this is where you can see the different teams that I've got within this project, and you can also add teams. I like to organize these within a very specific folder structure. There you can see the different teams that were created, and so on and so forth. Looking at that on the top side of things, so this is the document repository. These are where, this is where all the documents are kept. So mostly with the Collaborate and the Collaborate Pro licenses, we will find that we have the collaboration between different teams. In this case, they are dubbing companies that see it as an architect, mechanical engineer, and structural engineer. And when one creates the shared teams, they will create a consumed folder within that team for each one of these, and then only when one consumes a package, it will then consume those files into the teams folders under the consume. So this is the multilateral approach, which is built around the UK BIM Level 2 standard, where it is required for argument's sake the architect, the manager of the architect, to check the files that they create. In this case, a Revit file that sits in this directory over here. And when they share their package with someone else, that other person first checks the incoming package to see if they would like to consume it. If they do want to consume it, then you will find it under the consumed folder in the architects folder there. So it's essentially the shared file, or the file that was shared with the other teams, and they then have the ability to say, yes, I'm happy with what you've given me, and therefore I will consume it. And these consumed files, they show up as cloud links, so that we can link them to Revit. We'll have a look at that shortly. So this collaboration folder that I created, or that one creates, or that you don't have to create, you can create separate teams just in the root folder if you want. That is open to interpretation to the project manager. This is how I do mine. That is the multilateral approach. Then again, automatically on the creation of the teams, it will create a shared folder for you. And within the shared folder, once again, we can see our team names. Now, as soon as the architect shares a package, unilaterally and without the permission of any other manager, the file will come and sit in the shared folder. So this is a unilaterally shared file. Excuse me. And for the guys that do collaboration on Revit, the permissions must be set on both of these so that they've got access to both the shared folder and the collaboration folder, and in that way they will have access to the collaboration platform. Something else that is new? Yes, Jean, do you have a question?
So this is sort of the new version of, instead of having a shared drive, as you might say, where the architect goes and gives you a link to wherever his drawings are sitting, to download it from there. This is sort of like a combined system that when he puts his stuff there, you obviously get prompted to say that there's new stuff, and he goes and this whole project can be located in here instead of having a share drive or SharePoint.
That is correct. That is correct. That is 100% correct. So SharePoint, Dropbox, there are multiple platforms that could be used, but the Autodesk platform is unique in the sense that it allows you to collaborate with the other guys using the software that you're using. So for instance, in Revit, that's easy to understand. I think, Sean, you also use Revit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with Revit, you and I would be able to work on the same file at the same time, just like a central file on a local area network, and we'll be working through the internet.
Okay.
And then once we publish our file, that's available then to our team. And then after that, we have to share a package with the other teams. I can show you what that looks like. So if you have a look at the other part of the Collaborate license, it's the design collaboration part of it. So this is what is known as swim lanes. And within a swim lane, you will have the ability to create a package.
Okay, but obviously the architect or whoever, the project manager or whatever, he needs to create something in here and then obviously send a link to all the participants and saying, listen, all the drawings and documents and whatever is obviously located here. You can go and have a look there or work your way from here.
Yes, so if he invites somebody
it's not like I can tell him, listen, I'm using this. Do you want to obviously, well, you can maybe invite him and tell him to use this sort of thing, unless he just wants it to normal have a SharePoint.
JP, just give me your email address again. It's JP.
.dt
.dt
at energypartners.coza.
We will be sharing that with the rest of the world. Are you happy with that? Okay, so I'm just going to assign you also to Micrographics, and then you'll see that coming through to you. So So Micrographics, I will make you mechanical. And I'm going to give you the role of engineer. I'm going to make you project member, and I'm going to give access then to docs, that's included. And then if I want to, I can then give you access to everything else as well. So you'll see on your side that it will actually send you an email that will invite you to the project. Now that will give you access to the docs folder if I give you permission to view those files. So let's suppose that we're working on a design collaboration over here. Typically we assign this per company. So if we look at the collaboration folder there's the mechanical engineering team, and then we can have a look at the permissions over there, the permissions level. And then if I want, I can give control on the permissions to, for argument's sake, either you by name. So if I look for JP, it should find you. It's not finding you there. Let's look at mechanical. And so JP should be there. There it finds John Pierre, and then if we want to do that as mechanical, which is what we typically do with a company, it's okay, the mechanical guys must have access to that folder. The permission level that you can attach to that is then based on what the role of the company or the individual should be having in there. Now what happens with this is that the permission levels gets inherited on the subfolders. So at best what you can do is you can increase the permission level as you delve deeper in. But the view is enough to open a model and just to view something. So if you have a director or somebody that just wants to view it, you have view and download, where the guys can download the files as well if they need it. But to do that, you need a license, at least a docs license. So everybody that works on a project needs a docs license. Then you've got create, which is download and publish markups as well, if you want to do some markups. Then we've got, again, create, but publish markups and upload. So that will allow you the ability to upload files, upload and edit, which is, this is where the collaboration part comes in. So you'll be able to change file names and so on. And then manage, which will then allow you to delete files as well. So depending on how you set this up, either per company, role, or individual, you can then manage the access that they've got to your files based on their permission structure that you will apply across the platform. So doing that will now make that visible to you. So you'd be able to see that. So if I make, say, on the project files, I say here that I want to add on the permissions the mechanical guys. That's on the project side. Come on.
Yeah, there it is.
That's on the project side. Then so you got the invite on your side as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's the project files. Then over here, what we can do is we can also add them mechanical. So we can add MGFX mechanical, and we can say view permission on everything. Add. So that will now give you the ability to see all the files in my folder structure. So although you can't, so that's just the sort of the permissions-based what they've got on that. In addition to that, which is nice now, is with most of the BIM platforms, we would like to have file naming conventions that are enforced. So with ISO 19650, that's something that came out recently, the BIM standard on ISO. They will apply a certain naming standard. So if you have a look over here on the enforced naming standard, it's switched on, then you'll be able to go to your naming standard. And there you can see the naming standard that is given to all the file names within that folder structure. So over here you can see we've got the project name, which can have a number from 2 to 6. There's the guys that are on the platform itself, the collaborators, the volume, level, type, role, and number. This has actually been increased to a possible 6, which is nice for sheet numbering. And then lastly, in the ISO standard, at least the status is now metadata, which can be added to the file on the cloud, as is the revision, as is the classification. And the classification is based on the unique class 2015 to 2020 folder. So strictly speaking, that is then how the files must be named. And if the files aren't named in a specific way, then it will be put into a holding pattern until you then rename that accordingly. So that's one of the settings that we've got. You can also add other attributes here. You go to attributes, naming standards, and your advanced settings as well. One of the advanced settings, which is interesting, is that you can make public the links to sheets and files. And you can choose how long that must be. If we switch that on, and I'll be able to share files with contractors and subcontractors. So that would be guys that do not have licenses to the platform. If I would like to share files with them, then this is where it will go from. So I would say on the advanced settings, you will be able to send files. That's how long it will take until the link is not available anymore. So what that allows me to do is to go into one of these folders and then to say on this file, I would like to, or on multiple files, if I've got multiple files, I would like to share that file with somebody else outside of the project. So I can say anyone with the link or any project member with the link. If I say anybody with the link, and I can just add that person's name in there. So let's suppose I use one of my own personal emails, which I'm called at Micrographics or found at Paul at mgfx.co.za, but let's suppose it's actually storm00@gmail.com. Then I'll be able to download that file as well, or those files, and that will then send me the download links for the individual files. So you don't have to have a license to be able to receive a file from somebody that shares that with you. Now that's one part of the equation. A more subtle differentiation comes in within a team when you might not be ready to share your package with somebody else, but you still need, in a sort of a temporary manner, share a file with somebody else. Then you can also create a submittal. They call it submittal or transmittal rather. So there's both reviews where you can send documents through a review cycle routed to a specific individual that must review the file, or a group of people. There's 3, 4, 5 different ways in which you can set that up. That's reviewing the files. You can, of course, open this file and create an issue on this file. Those issues can be routed to other people so that they can fix that. If you have the full-blown, if you have both the Collaborate and the Build license, you'd also be able to create pictures and videos and snags on the issues that you create, so that you can see one can create an issue. You can also create markups.
Oh, that's very handy. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and again, it's if you give view access to everybody else to the files, and because you've given them view access, so they might be able to create some issues on your, or see issues at least that you create over there. So there might be a design issue over there somewhere. So if you place that, then you can say, okay, I want to send this to JP. So assign to, say, JP. Not picking up.
And then it just sends that specific view to, say, for instance, in this case will be, there you go, just go down a little bit more, there you go.
There we go, John, please.
Then obviously it obviously picks up, so it'll only send that part saying, listen, there's something going on there, have a look at that.
Yes, that's correct. And then you will get an email alerting you to that, but in addition to that, you can also add references. So you can attach photos if you're on site, also through the app, if you've got the build license, all right? Otherwise, with the normal docs license, it's just some files. So if you have other PDFs or drawings, but what's the nice one is the build app, because then you can put photos and videos also. You can send through requests for information, so that's for the subcontractors on site, and then you can also show some or attach them to a specific asset. Let's suppose you've got some piece of mechanical equipment on site. You can say which piece of mechanical equipment you want that to apply to. So that's more on the construction side. And then also you have the activity log. So that will then tell you what happened and when it happened. And you can also schedule these things so the guy that you send it to knows when they must do that. So this is quite powerful. There are different ways in which you can walk through this. You can also walk through it in first person, which is kind of like a Navisworks setting, where you can walk into the building and go and have a look up and down. So it's a very powerful sort of viewing platform, and then giving information through to somebody else through your issues, and also markups. So you can also create markups. You can also select items and have a look at the properties that you find there. So if you want to see the information about those properties, then you can do that. So it's quite a powerful thing from a viewing platform perspective. And that's for your own team, because it's sitting within your own team. On Revit, what it looks like is something like this. So what you choose on the Revit side is what you want to share with your own team. So then you can see you've got the publish settings. And this is what we're publishing from this file. So instead of what we used to do is just clean up the model completely and delete all the views and everything. Now you don't really have to do that anymore, because you can just say all you want to send through, say for instance, is a 3D view that you want to share with the other guys, and with your own team at least. But yeah, in case of my own team, I said, okay, also share the sheets that I've generated. And then once you've done that, you can go to manage your cloud models. Now, if you're one of the team members with Revit with the collaboration license, then you can publish that at any time. So that's the only thing. You can't control when people publish, your team members. Right? So me and you, I can't control when you publish this thing. You can't control when I publish the thing. It's something that we can agree on, of course. But as soon as we publish this, it becomes available to the rest of our team. Let's suppose we both work for Micrographics Mechanical. We've got 5 other guys in the team with us. Then they will be able to see what we have published. But it's still not the architect, and it's still not the structural engineer. It's just our team. So it's our directors, it's the guys that work underneath us, the techies, or the guys that need presentations, or whatever they need to do. They can then see our files once we publish these. I just published these before I started the webinar. So I know they've published. I don't want to waste your time with that. It's just the click of a button and it publishes. Initially, when you have a large file, it takes some time, because it takes both time for the cloud to process the model, and it also takes time for your computer to generate the cache. And they work exactly the same as local area network files, in the sense that you can roll back something. And again, you can do that from the cloud models. And we'll see that you can roll back these models. There's the Gobi challenge. So if you want to revert to an earlier version of your cloud file, then you can roll it back from here. Just quickly wait for it to open. And when you open it off the cloud as well, when you open a file off the cloud, you still have the ability to audit the file, and you still have the ability to state which work sets you would like to have opened once you open that file. Because that's also something that performs better. You switch all the work sets off to start with. And so over here, you'll see that in this drop-down over there, you can view versions. and then you'll see the earlier versions, and then you can, if you want to, restore or roll back the model to an earlier version. Now, I just don't comment when I synchronize, but these will be the synchronizations that occur. You still roll back to an earlier version on your file. And if you open a file from your Home tab, you'll see on the side over there, you can specify the workspace that you want to open, and you can also open an audit, and you can also choose to publish from this interface as well. Instead of going to the cloud models, you can also publish from here. So it's very user-friendly in that sense. The one thing that I would like them to do is to include the description of the file in here, because that's something that's gotten lost within the ISO naming standard. But then you just have a look at the internet, and you have a look at this file over here, and there is where you can put your description in as metadata, and you can call that the architectural model for argument's sake. So there is the description, and I just have to correlate that with the number. The other nice thing that you can do here is you can say you don't want to see all this information there, you just want to see the description, the status, the revision, and the rest of that information. And then because this is part of a naming standard, you can then add your status to something like it's a work in progress file. The revision is, say, the first revision. And the classification is going to be under the British standard. It's formal information, I think it's 6053. And that is a three-dimensional model. So that's how they manage the classification. We've got the version of the file over there, which again, you can roll back to an earlier version, or in your view, you can compare what's different between one view and the next. The latest thing that's coming, you can add a watch list if you want to watch specific components that are changing. Now, all of that is available in there. And then how that works on a practical level is once you've published these files, your own team can come and make markups and issues over here. And then we typically recommend you do it in a 2-weekly cycle. So 1 week you share with your own team, you try and sort out any clashes that occur, and then the next week that you do an interdisciplinary clash detection meeting. So you can also create some model coordinations. So that is where you do clash detection automatically. In this case, I'm using a shared folder, that unilaterally shared folder to do clash detection. And again, you can create issues over here. You can use different folders. There's settings where you can set up different coordination folders if you'd like. And then you can use there's mechanical, architectural, and Navisworks. Those three is what I want to clash. And then I can say the view, and that will then generate a clash detection for me between those models, and that makes it very quick, very powerful, as opposed to setting everything up in Navisworks, creating selection sets and choosing what you clash against each other. It can generate a lot of clashes, so it helps to condition the models before the time. But that is why we would typically publish our files, say, as often as we need to inside of our own teams, but then once a week internally. In a 1 week cycle, but what we'll do is we'll check internally for any clashes that occur, and then we can see the clashes that occur. Those are individual clashes that you might find, so it shows you there's a problem between this column and those walls. There's another one, and then you can also see the same with regards to not object but system name or type name. So for these types, there are the columns, and they are clashing with all of those ones. So I can now go and create an issue. Then I can go and create an issue, and I can say, all right, I need you to go and fix all the columns. So once I've done that, it'll create an issue for me. And I can then internally to my own team say, you must go and fix whatever needs to be fixed. And later on, it's still busy creating that issue. If I open that on the right hand side, I can specify that to somebody over here, and I can say, I'm just going to use you again, Jean, here, and I can state all the rest of the information that's necessary over there, and that will then give you that issue as well to come and have a look at on the splash detection. So typically what we would like to do is to isolate all the clashes that are relevant just to our team for this week, so that we can sort it out internally based on what the other guys shared last week. And then next week, the second week, then we do a proper clash detection to say, right, how's our model going to interact with another discipline's model? And then we will take that up with their managers and say, right, look, our models are clashing over here. I know you're the structural guy, so you can't move your column. I'm the mechanical guy, so I'm going to have to move my duct around the column, or the piping, or whatever is required. And it's a very powerful workflow that the clash detection is done so quickly and automatically as well, so there's no real hassle about that. It's quite easy to do. And that is the coordination part of the platform. So that's what you get with your Collaborate license, as well as with your Collaborate Pro license. You get the design collaboration, which is where you can share within your own swim team. If you want to create a package that you create, let's suppose that you and I have just published, and we've gone through the revision cycle and the clash detection cycle for our own team, and we want to share that with somebody else. And then the one thing that is confusing over here, I've seen that in the industry itself, you must also always have a look at this platform, what name is showing over there. That's the team name. So currently you'll see that we've got the structural engineer listed there, but we are mechanical, say for argument's sake, we're mechanical. So we have to click on mechanical to make it the current team. That's the mechanical team. And then on our timeline over here, we can then choose to create a package. And this is the package now, what we are going to share with other disciplines, with the architects and with the structural engineers. This is what our model looks like. Typically, we would switch off the links. There's quite a nice document that Autodesk also releases where it shows you what you can, what exactly you must do to make the cloud work easy or nice, well behaved. And then you can choose in the sets if you had sheets and you wanted to share that, or within the models. I'm just going to select the model. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to share this model with everybody else. And there I'm going to share it. And I can give it some description. I'm just going to call this webinar share. There's the webinar share. That then shares it with all the other teams. And that's now been shared. And if I was in different teams, say for argument's sake, the structural engineer, then the architect, where's the architect? Where's the architect? The architect is now current, and I can see on the swim lanes, based on what this picture looks like, I can see that these guys have shared a package with me. So they've shared a newer version of the model. So they don't, and in addition to that, you can also choose that you want to be notified of that. So I click on that and I say consume. And once I say consume, it will then copy their file into my consumed folder. And at that time, and that is then what is available to my team to link in. So it's something that they deemed worthy of sharing with me. And it's also something that I deemed worthy sharing with my team. And that's where you can see the package that's been shared to you. And over there, you can see the email notifications. You can switch that on. And if you switch that on, and every time that somebody shares a package, or every time that somebody consumes a package, you are then notified of that. So you will see when somebody else, in your emails, you will see that somebody else has shared a package and that somebody else has consumed that package. A very powerful workflow. Very nice to see. You can, at any time also, you can have a look at this file. So if we look at the structural model, it's not going to be much to see. There's the mechanical model. Then you can also go in look at that package, you can explore that package, you can go and have a look at that model, you can create issues on that model, and in addition to that, you can also have a look at change visualization. Now, there's not much to show in this model specifically, but if there was any information that's been changed on this model, then it will show up in different colors. Be that metadata or anything else that's been changed in this model will show up. And you see that nothing has changed, so nothing is highlighted. Then you can also have watch changes. There are no watch groups to show. Returns to just set up a new group. So you can also set up a watch group if you want to go and have a look at a specific change visualization. And then you can also see it's got more tools over there. As a result of the tree to show that. In any case, so that's just tools that the managers have to have a look at the file to see if they're happy what's been shared with them. And then based on those consumed packages, you will see those appear within the docs folder, within the subfolders for the teams. Then you can see them in the collaboration folder. Right, so that's been copied across from other teams into my team's folder. What that allows my team to do, if I do have one of these files open, is to say when I link in a Revit file, so at this moment I've got the at this stage I've got the mechanical file linking, so I'm going to input another Revit file. Open this view quickly, create a Revit link. Now because I'm working on the cloud, I will now also have the ability to reference in a cloud model, so it will take that off the cloud. And you can see you've got the external reference that becomes available on the cloud platform, on the project that I'm working on. And there is my project files. Here is the collaboration folder. Under my own team, remember if I was just a normal project member, I wouldn't see the other guys. And there's my architect. There's the consumed folder. And then under the structural engineer team, there I can see their file that's been consumed. And that is then what I link into my package, into my Revit. So it becomes very much cloud-based. There are nuances in the sense that if you have the AutoCAD drawings, that must be linked through the desktop connector. So having a look at what that looks like. Open this quickly. There is the desktop connector, Autodesk Docs. There is the Micrographics Cloud. Here's our COVID challenge. Here's for the projects. You will see how this is synchronized down onto your hard drive. You can choose to synchronize anything if you right click and you synchronize. So let's suppose that I wanted to have access to my file over the weekend, but suppose I'm the only guy working here with this file. And what I can do with the files in here, I'll just synchronize them. And that will then make sure, instead of it being online, synchronize that, it will synchronize down onto my drive as well. One of the ways in which I use this, it's open to interpretation, but the way that I use this is I also put my standards on me. So if I have a look at something like my shared parameter file, put that on the standards, and then also on my families. And there, say, the title blocks. That's something that I'll put on the actual cloud. So you can save files into the folder structure that is on your desktop as well.
So this is sort of leaving, it's like your central model type thing, and you copy that central model, or do you detach it onto your hard drive, obviously draw on it, and then obviously sync it back to your cloud where your central model is basically.
That's correct. If it was a central model, if it was something like an AutoCAD file, then you just have to tell the other guys not to not to work on the file for the
Yeah,
weekend.
obviously.
I suppose AutoCAD files are different to Revit files, but yeah. So that's basically that. There's so much more that we can go in. I know we're getting caught for time here. The last thing is that on the build side of things, there's a lot more things that come in. So yeah, it's too much to handle in 1 hour. It's impossible to go through all of this in 1 hour. But at least from the sheets perspective, you can upload sheets. So if you have something called sheets, then you can take that into the field, and you can do some takeoffs and all sorts of things that you can do there. And if you add these sheets, the nice thing about them is if you upload them, I uploaded this morning quickly from, there's a PDF that's got four drawings in it. Then it works the same as the old platform, but just in a much easier way, in that it just gives you the file, gives you the existing version. So that go next. It gives you the number and the name of the sheet. And that's really as simple as it is. So there's none of this, you have to set up a template or anything like that. It's just where's your sheet number, which you can choose. And then you can come up with that just now after it's processing. So it's 4 sheets, but it's already recognizing from a previous setting what the sheet number is, and then also the sheet name. And that then becomes something that there you can see you can draw the sheet number in the area, okay? And then on that drawing you can say where it must pick up that sheet number from. And this works really, really well on a mobile app. So if you're in the field, even on a cell phone, I've tested this on a cell phone and it works beautifully. So even if you just have a cell phone on the field and you want to take some pictures about some snags or whatever and put it down in a drawing, then that is really, really easy to do.
Yeah.
So then it's not going to help that you've got the internet. You either have to have a laptop on site, but if you have your phone, then that works beautifully. And then the next part to that is then the name of the sheet as well. And then you can publish those sheets and it will update the sheets with the next version. And this is what the guys in the field work with. So once they've got their sheets, they can also create their RFIs, get back to the design guys. So if the design guys also have a build license, then that will work backwards into the design team.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're getting caught for time here, JP, but thank you very much for joining. I hope that you've learned something new at least.
Yeah.
You know where to get hold of me at Micrographics if you need further assistance. Is it something that you guys are considering? Do you mind if I ask?
Well, it's something that I would say I can sort of promote. I'm not sure if they'll use it, but I can try and promote it, because normally it's basically, well, I would say the last couple of projects is only basically we as the mechanical and then obviously the architect, but the architect becomes the BIM coordinator basically. So we just upload our models and he obviously checks if there's any clashes or that sort of thing, that he becomes the project manager in most of these cases. It's only when there is clashes that obviously becomes a bit more of a urgency thing, then he'll, so for instance, tell me to listen, just download for instance, the fire drawing, just to check if our piping and their piping are clashing and who's been installing what and that sort of thing, so things can move around with that. So most of the time it's them doing the collaboration or the coordination instead of us. They're just telling us, listen, there's some clashes, and obviously sending, as you mentioned here as well, that you can send bits and pieces of it, like in screenshots, basically saying that there's problems there or here or whatever the case may be, like in Naviswork, obviously.
Yes.
Saying that there's problems there.
You can also generate these reports on this platform as well. So if you want to isolate issues that you create in the flash disk. But look, the guys are picking this up. I've come across quite a lot of companies that are using this technology now. New companies that are using this technology. So I think the chances are that you might come into contact with this sooner or later. But I'm very grateful that you attended, and I hope that you get the opportunity to work with it one of these days. It also works with Civil 3D, although not in that sort of collaboration as with Revit, but you can share data shortcuts on Civil 3D. And then also on Plant 3D. It at least allows you to upload the Plant 3D model into the cloud as well.
All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, JP, have a great day further. Thank you for attending.
You too. Thanks. Cheers.
Again, cheers.
All right, bye.